obviously, we've heard so many different things thrown out this year about Tua and Herbert, and it's social media quarterbacks and all of the discourse that has emerged here over the last few months. I just want to talk about more than the individual matchups on one side of the ball or the X's and O's associated with this. How we arrived at this moment, I just find so interesting, right?
Yeah.
So before the season, going back to last spring, the Dolphins wanted to hire Sean Payton and sign Tom Brady.
Yep.
Or get Tom Brady. That was the Dolphins' plan at quarterback.
Why they don't have their first round pick next year.
Yes.
I know they
not have a first round pick because of it. They don't have their first round pick because of it. That's what they wanted to do. That totally unravels. Instead, they hire Mike McDaniel, who is probably going to be one of the top 3 betting favorites for Coach of the Year. You can make a very strong argument that he should be the Coach of the Year based on his influence on what the Dolphins' offense is.
Absolutely.
Tua, who they were trying to jettison for multiple different quarterbacks over the last few seasons, is now a legitimate MVP candidate because of the way he has played. They have one of the most efficient offenses in recent memory and explosive offenses.
Yep.
Now, going into the season, the Chargers were legit Super Bowl contenders. They were like the 3rd or 4th best Super Bowl odds of anybody. This wasn't just us talking about the Chargers, okay? Justin Herbert had one of the highest MVP odds of any quarterback in the league. I believe he was probably 3rd after Allen and Mahomes. Now, we've devolved so far in the other direction that instead of Sean Payton being the coach that the Dolphins are chasing, there are now rumblings about whether or not Sean Payton is going to be the coach that the Chargers end up chasing. And that's now where we are. And I think that there's a lot of stuff to talk about and think about as it relates to that. But just the paths that these narratives take and how quickly it can change, I think that this game specifically is a real reflection and expression of that.
So Khalil Mack was traded on the start of the league year. So that was March 16th. So we're not almost 9 months later. How different of a world this is. So we're talking about. That's why I learned I was about to be a dad, and then compared to now, like that is basically what world we're living in now. It's astounding to me. Dolphins were just such a curious case going into this year. I was the Tyreek Hill and Waddle kind of like pairing to me, especially with Gesicki, and now I see how they're using it. But I was like, kind of felt like a hat on a hat. And okay, Mike McDaniel, they're going to run the ball, but I don't think this offensive line's built for that. Who are they going to like? How are they going to set the edge? And that's just me getting into that schematics. Watching this offense they figured it out. Like Mike McDaniel figured out the strengths of everybody. We got the speed of all speed at receiver, and we have a quarterback that's willing to push the ball into the middle of the field over and over and over. That all works, and that's what's just so funny. You look at this Chargers team. And I went into August saying this roster is stars and scrubs, not thinking it would look like this, though. Like I kind of was thinking, oh, yeah, they're really top heavy. But, even if they can withstand some injuries, and of course, they've had a lot of injuries, like the top guys on their roster as far as their salaries this year is Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. You're paying a lot of those guys a lot of money, and they're missing games. J.C. Jackson's getting benched. The Chargers team was not expecting this is not an excuse factor either. But they weren't expecting to go into this year expecting to play DeAndre Carter 600 snaps this season. DeAndre Carter has played 700 snaps, 713 snaps. This is his 5th team in 5 years in his career going into this year. He's played 600 this year. Trey McKitty and Gerald Everett have played over 800 snaps combined. This is all the downsides of how they built this roster and how this team has all unfolded this way, while the Dolphins have done ways to mitigate the holes in their roster.
That's perfect.
Amplify all the good things about their roster.
That's exactly right. And I think that's important to not make this an excuse fest or this is why Tua is successful. That's not what we're talking about here. Okay. No. The Dolphins drafted Jalen Waddle and went out and signed Tyreek Hill. They made 2 big plays at receiver.
Yep.
The Chargers did the same. The Chargers have Keenan Allen on a big time deal, guys. And they have a $20 million other receiver in Mike Williams.
Yep.
The Chargers have had injuries along their offensive line. Rashawn Slater's missed most of the season. Yep. Trey Pipkins has missed a decent amount of time. Corey Linsley has only played 500 of a possible 840 snaps for the Chargers. The Dolphins' offensive line has also had some injury issues over the course of the season. Armstead has missed time. Their right tackle has missed time. Their center has missed a little bit of time.
Yep.
The plan on offense for the Dolphins has been so fully and completely realized in a positive way. And the plan for this Chargers team has completely disintegrated.
Yes.
That is the difference. It's not about whether or not one has help and another doesn't. It's just that the plan around this Chargers team has completely disintegrated. Mike Williams has played about half of the Chargers snaps in this game or in this season, and they haven't been able to live as a result of that. The Dolphins have been able to survive despite the guys that they've lost because the structure and the way that their offense is built and conceived of is so incredibly conducive to their quarterback skill set. The Chargers are not that. No. And when you watch the Chargers play against the Raiders last week,
oh my God,
the Raiders played man coverage on 45% of their snaps. Okay. They only blitzed a quarter of the time, and they led all teams in pressure rate last week. The way that the Raiders played against the Chargers, and obviously Chargers are out, left tackle, starting center, right tackle's out of the game. Mike Williams, obviously, all of that is, we can understand that. The way that the Raiders played against the Chargers last week reminds me of the ways that teams play against the Zach Wilson Jets or against the Mac Jones Patriots. Right. We're going to play a bunch of man coverage because your offense is crumbling in front of us and we don't respect you.
Yep.
And it is wild that this Chargers team with Justin Herbert is in that place 13 weeks into the season. But that's what it feels like. It feels like the foundation is crumbling underneath their feet. And it's hard to watch, honestly.
He's never, everything with this offense is hard, which is fine when you have not only just a good quarterback, but players everywhere. You can run this hard offense. Like what the Cowboys do a little bit. It's pretty hard what they're doing, but they got some dudes. they got CeeDee Lamb. They got a great O-line. They got Dak playing well, and they got all those running backs and tight ends. And that's what it is the Dolphins offense is very, there's a lot of easy buttons that they hit. They do some hard things.
Margin for error is so wide. And so again, not to discredit the quarterback.
No.
The margin for error is so wide because good offenses create a wide margin of error, and speed also creates that for you.
Speed kills. Speed always kills. Speed is
Dolphins have, and the Chargers do not have.
Exactly. Speed helps everything. Speed with size helps everything even more. Like the thing about Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, they're great players. They're both slow. I'm not scared to say that. Like they are not fast players. They win by bodying guys up and with some technician as far as Keenan Allen. But it's that offense. I did a cut up of Herbert against the Cardinals, and he's thrown a field out route, which is, I know people are like, oh, every NFL quarterback should make that throw. Yeah, on routes on air, not against NFL corners and who are jump all those balls. Just watch it. He hits 3 of them in one game. And yes, that's awesome. Justin Herbert can do that. Your offense should not be built off field out routes against the NFL corners. Like, I don't care which corners you're playing against. And that's what the offense is just hard because they don't have players to help, like, give the room for error, and they don't have an offensive play caller or play designer that's giving room for error. So it's just hard. It's just bashing your head. It's check down after check down. It's tightly contested throw after tightly contested throw. Okay, one shot play that works, and then it's just like 3-yard runs, 2-yard runs, 0-yard runs. And Austin Eckler is a great player. Okay, here's another check down to Austin Eckler. It's just all this hard stuff. And then you watch the Dolphins motion and RPOs and just stuff just going left and right, play action, ball over the middle, and just guys running wide open. And that's the difference. It's just well coached with a team that knows how to use their talent. And then the other guys, even if the quarterback is an outstanding quarterback, I think in my eyes, and I think a lot of our eyes, unless you're blind.